we deflate ourselves and we inflate the problem, meaning that we now start to remember ourselves based on our worst moments and our worst days. Well, like, see, I made a mistake the other day. I actually made $300,000, but I thought it was $325,000. See, I don't even know money. Welcome to the MoneyFitMD show. I'm Dr. Latifat, the founder of MoneyFitMD. We want to change the narrative where women physicians use. My job is to let you know I have to surround myself with people that are doing crazy. Hey guys, welcome to another episode with the MoneyFitMD. I am so excited about this episode because it is going to be so helpful and so relevant, especially considering everything that's been going on in 2025. Listen up. If you're a woman physician, actually, if you're a human, but I'm talking to women physicians, but I know you all other humans are listening. So hello, we know you're there. But literally, guys, if you're a woman physician that is feeling anxious about her finances, especially now in 2025, this episode is going to help you because I've had conversations with so many people recently, and guys, like the level of the volume of the anxiety, it is high. And, I've noticed that over the last year, like the last half of last year, 2024, and now into 2025, and it is still going strong. So I'm like, we need to talk about this anxiety, and you're going to learn practical things on this episode that I hope will help you so that you can decrease your anxiety that you have about your finances. If I'm online, any Facebook group at all, it's like post upon post about anxiety about debt, anxiety about work. And what I've noticed is that the level of anxiety goes up as the forces, especially the external forces that's stressing us out, that's causing physicians to lose their jobs, quit without a notice, because we're just tired, burnt out, exhausted, dusty, crusty, and we're just you need to sometimes save your life and leave. And if that's you, I'm giving you a high five right now. But I know that it's not only those that in dire situations that are worried about their finances. Maybe for you, you're like, okay, I earn good money, Latifah, but I'm worried about my kids. How are my kids gonna do if something happens to me? Like one of my friends texted me recently where there were some findings on a mammogram. All those sort of things can start to stress us out when we're thinking about those that we love, leaving them behind, or not even leaving them behind, but how can we make sure that our family is well? How can you make sure that you are well? Right? So if you're feeling any of that, if my husband was here, would go, and eggs are getting expensive. Everything we talk about now is eggs are getting expensive. Earlier today, my kids they're gonna have some plantains. And I think, what did we have? So they're like, oh, what are we gonna have the plantains with? And one was like, well, how about with eggs? I was like, no, the pastor just talked about eggs were expensive. It was just so funny. But anyway, if you're having anxiety and feeling stressed right now, I want you to know that you're not alone. But I want you to leave this episode with a nice deep breath, with equipment. You're equipped and ready, because it's not just because you feel better, but you feel better and you're equipped to actually do something that's going to help decrease the anxiety that you have about your finances in 2025. Before I go further though, I do want to say, as a physician, I know that anxiety can be due to different things, right? There is a biochemical part of it. And if you need medications, if you feel unsafe, please talk to your doctor. We want to make sure you're taken care of. The anxiety that I'm dealing with here is one where you're thinking about the future and you're having anxiety, you're having anxious thoughts, you're having maybe palpitations, you're feeling worried, you're feeling stressed out when you think about the future. And one of the things that I like to remind people is that many times when we're feeling anxious about the future, it's because you're having thoughts about the future, and your expectations as a result of those thoughts are negative. They're negative. They're not what you want. It's not what you desire. So you're having those thoughts about the expectations of the future. And sometimes these are based on facts. Maybe you're looking at your money, you're looking at your net worth. You've been working for the last 15 years as a physician, and your net worth is $100K, or it's negative, or $200K. And you're like, I'm ready to get to my first, second, seven figure. I'm ready to get to my next seven figure. When is that going to happen? So your anxiety may be because of those things that look like facts to you, that is causing you to have these thoughts that maybe it's even keeping you up at night. And you and I know that this is not helpful because when you're having anxious thoughts about the future that hasn't even come yet, you're negatively affecting the present that's in front of you. You may be arguing with your spouse, you may be cranky with your kids, you may be, unkind to yourself. You may actually be like spending more, and you're actually less likely to take the actions that is going to help you create what is the opposite of what you expected about the future. I'll give you an example about that. There's someone that I coached many, many years ago who, for her, she was like, every time I'm having anxious thoughts, I'm worried about the future, I spend more in the present. So literally, she's worried that she may not have money in future, but now in the present, what she's doing is she's taking the money that she has and she's actually spending it more on things that she normally would not even spend on. She's like, I just feel better when I spend. And so she's solving a problem with the wrong solution. She's solving a problem with the exact opposite thing that is now going to create the future that she does not desire. Does that make sense? I know. Logically, you're like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. Why is she doing that? But keep in mind, y'all, most of the things we do don't necessarily make sense. They're subconscious. They're being altered by the thoughts you have beneath the surface, right? That is now creating a different action than what you normally would. You're like, it doesn't make sense that I want more money, but I'm spending more. It doesn't make sense that I want my net worth to grow, and I don't want to do that by relying on my clinical income. However, I'm not investing. Many of the things we do may not make sense, and when it doesn't make sense, it's literally because there's something else beneath the surface that is actually powering. It's like the virus in the background that's actually like powering you and causing you to do the exact opposite of what you want to create. So how can we do, like, what are some factual things that you can start to do right now? Number one, we're going to start with just taking a deep breath. Like you, your mama, your kids, me, my mama, my kids, whew, like just take a nice deep breath right there. It's interesting because as a GI doctor that sees patients clinically, I am so aware of the fact that there are many times when we actually don't take deep breaths, right? Many of us are walking around, but we're not taking deep breaths. So just take a deep breath right now. Like, just take a deep breath for me. That's one thing you should do, okay? So now let's talk about some practical things that you need to do in order to decrease your anxiety. So the number one thing is, if you're looking at the facts right now and you're like, Latifat, this is not my thought. This is a matter of like the fact. The fact of the matter is my math ain't mathin'. This money math ain't mathin'. The fact of the matter is I'm not investing. Every time I think about investing, I stop short because I'm afraid of making mistakes. The number one thing you need to do is just get good at money, period. I know. I mean, get good. Like, you need to get good at money. I'm not talking about you need to like email your financial advisor or email your spouse or call your spouse and say, are you doing good with our money? No, I'm talking about you need to be educated, empowered, and build your own personal confidence in order for you to change what may be the fact of the circumstance that you're not liking. I cannot tell you how many times I've had people tell me things like they're afraid of looking, and I get it because I was there too. You don't like what you're seeing, but the idea of actually immersing yourself and looking and making changes is freaking you out. If that's you, you are not alone. I get it. But the way you overcome that is not by getting annoyed at yourself or those around you or throwing poop on the wall and hoping something that's like sticks. It's by getting good at money. It's by learning the financial education that you need, right? And I want to be very, very careful about that because some of you guys like to get constipated in knowledge and not take action. So when I talk about getting good with money, it's not just about learning only, it's learning and taking action. Like, you need to take action. You need to make moves. You need to look at where your money is currently going right now. You need to look at the last 6 months, like how much did you actually save in your emergency fund? Look at your money right now, like how much did you actually invest in the stock market or outside of the stock market last year? Because if you did not invest, at the very minimum, maximize your 401k, your Roth IRA, if you did not do that, then you're under invested. It's like literally having an army that could be working for you, but you just told them to take a nap instead. So your money is not working for you, and that's why you may be losing the war. So you need to get good at money. And the way you get good at money is a level of intimacy. It's like a financial intimacy where you start to get more into your money. Intimacy to become one. You get mingled in to, like, you start to get curious about what you are doing right now and what you want to do, and start to make moves into the future. Like, take actions with your money that propels you into the future that you want to see. So if you're like, Latifat, my goal is to build my first seven figure in the next five years. You could earn seven figures in a year. You can. If you have a business, if you own your own practice, you absolutely can. But some of you guys are like, I want to do that, but I also want to make sure that it's the money that I'm investing that's going for you. So the question becomes, are you investing in a way that's in alignment with that goal? A couple of years ago when I started my own journey, my goal was wanted to get to our first seven figure. And so I knew that if I invested in the stock market, it was probably going to take me more than 5 years based on how much money I was earning clinically at that point. So I knew that in order to accelerate that journey, I had to invest outside of the stock market. So that's why I invested in cash flowing real estate investments that, would force appreciation. Again, I was very clear on my goal. My goal was to drive up my net worth. So I had to drive up the value of the properties that I was buying. And the way that I did that was what you call forced appreciation. And I'm not going to go into details about that. I've covered it in prior episodes, and I'm happy to cover it in other episodes as well if that would be helpful for you. But number one thing is you need to just get good. And it's not about perfectionism. My goal is this. My goal is to do my money imperfectly. My goal is to do life imperfectly, mother imperfectly, wife imperfectly. The only thing I want to do close to perfect is my procedures. That's the only thing. But part of this is also just being human and know that we're never going to be perfect. But when our expectation is perfectionism, it keeps us stuck, it keeps us immobile, and it prevents you from actually getting the results that you need to get in your finances. So number one, get good at money. It's not hard. Progress. That's all you need. Get better than what you were yesterday. Learn something new. And for every one or two things you learn, you want to take an appropriate action, because confidence does not come through learning. Confidence comes through doing, right? You can learn about lumbar puncture all day, but until you start doing your own taps, you're not going to get good at it, right? The same thing is true with money. Start by getting good at it. Number two is this, and this is going to sound really simple and silly, but I want you to understand that part of the reason why we get anxious about our finances and the things that we're about to encounter, whether it's in your business, in your practice, in your investment, is that we deflate ourselves and we inflate the problem. We deflate ourselves and we inflate the problem, meaning that we now start to remember ourselves based on our worst moment and our worst days. Well, like, see, I made a mistake the other day. I chewed gum and I threw it on the floor into the trash. That means I'm not good. That means the target that I shoot for never happens, right? 5 years ago, I actually made $300,000, but I thought it was $325,000. See, I don't even know money. You start to deflate yourselves, and that is actually horrible for you. It is bad for you. It is bad for your money. It is bad for your anxiety. And one of the things that I like to remind people is remember who the crap you are in the best way possible. Remember who the freak you are. Like, you are a freaking badass. You are a badass woman physician. You've done something that many people can only dream about, which is take crazy amount of examinations, study for ridiculous crazy things, memorize ridiculous amount of stuff, save lives of freaking breakfast. Every day you're saving lives. Like, remember who you are. You are a badass. And yes, sometimes there's like one more piece of the hat that needs to be fixed. And maybe that's all this is. Your finances, maybe the hat that needs to be fixed. But doesn't change the fact that you're amazing, you're badass, you're beautifully and wonderfully made. I believe that you're made by God. You are like valuable beyond imagination, right? And to actually, I'm going to digress a little bit. And I know some of you guys are not Christian, but I want to share this with you because you may appreciate this. This is something that I was meditating on recently. It is from the Bible, and it was talking about how be holy as I am holy. And the Bible was talking about how because God is holy, the Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit is holy, and because if you're part of that, you are holy as well. And I sat down for, I don't know, 30 minutes. And I was like, what does it mean to be holy? It means like you're set apart, you're cut apart. You're like set apart. You're different. You don't make sense. You define laws. Like,
You don't make sense. You don't fit in a box. And I was like, yes, that's who I am. Right? So for me, like when I read the word of God, when I look at the word of God, it reminds me of who I am because I'm made in the image of God. Right? So it inflates me back up to where I should be. Not that I'm like perfect, but with God, I can do exploits. Like I do crazy stuff. So when I remember that, it inflates me back to where I belong, which is that I'm competent, I'm capable, and I can do hard stuff. And for you, maybe you don't believe in the Bible. Like find your thing. One of the things that I recommend for people is, and people laugh about this, and I don't care. People ask me like my favorite books, and one of the books that I recommend is actually a children's book. It's called I Like Myself. And this past week, I still recommended it to someone who is in the money school. And the reason why is because it's hard for you to solve problems when you believe that the knife you have is a plastic knife. Like you're like, I'm about to go to war, but I know that I'm going there with a plastic knife. You already lost before it started, right? And so when you don't remember who you are, what ends up happening is you're coming into the battle already lost, already losing because you already thought you lost. And so for me and for you, this book may be helpful. It's called I Like Myself. And I've read it so many times. It's like, I like myself. I'm glad I'm me. There's no one else I'd rather be. I like my eyes, my ears, my nose. I like my fingers and my toes. It's like, I like me no matter what size I am. I like me regardless of the mistakes that I made. Now I'm adding my own stuff to it. But you need to remind yourself of who you are. And sometimes you need to do this every day. The bigger the challenge you're trying to encounter, the more you have to remind yourself because you're going to be meeting things that may feel like you may be getting punched in the face, right? So you need to remember who you are. That's the number two thing. In order to decrease your anxiety, you have to understand that the version of you that's going to be doing that thing in future is not even the version of you today. It's going to be the version of you that's more equipped because you are investing in your learning, you're investing in being in the right community, you're investing in your mindset, you're investing in coaching, you're investing in getting like the right space for you. So like the version of Latifat that's going to do some of the things we're going to be doing later on this year is not the same version that's talking to you today. So when I'm thinking about my goals in future, when I'm thinking about like the problems we're going to be solving in future, I have to remind myself that I'm not going there. It's not going to be this version of me in 2 years. So that decreased my anxiety because that Latifat is going to be definitely like bolder, clearer, a better communicator, kinder, more in depth with God, knowing who her roots are, knowing who identity is. I hope this is helpful for you. So, in order to decrease your financial anxiety, you need to like remember who the heck you are. Like, don't talk to yourself like that. If you cannot talk to your daughter or your niece or my 2-year-old like that, you have no business talking to yourself like that. So, like, get it together. No, we ain't gonna use those words again about you. No, you're not stupid about money. No, you're not the bottom of the barrel about money. No, you are beautifully and wonderfully made. And you are evidence of the fact that whatever you set your mind to, as long as you continue to learn and grow, you can do like amazing ish. So, number two thing is remember who you are. And then number three, which is related to number two, is many times we inflate the problem, right? It's like we take a balloon and we blow it up and now it turns into a huge mountain. Is it easier for you to walk over a mountain that's like, I don't know, 10,000 feet high or one that is like 5,000 feet high, right? Bring things back to where they belong. There literally is no new problem under the surface of the earth. There's no new problem. Every problem you want to solve, someone has thought about it. If they haven't thought about it in your area, they've thought about it in a different area. Literally, it already like you you will be okay. Everything is figure outable. You want to invest? Many people have invested before. You're a single mom. You're like, how am I going to do it? Literally, there are women in the money school, with single women physicians that are killing it, right? You're like, but I've made mistakes in the past. So have I. And I've done it. Like, but my goal is to buy 3 properties in the next year. You'll be okay. You can do it. My goal is to buy businesses in the next couple of years. You can do it. The question becomes, how can I? How can I? Is there anybody that has? Who can I learn from? Make sure you're surrounding yourselves with people like that are doing amazing things so that because you become the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with, right? So if your goal right now is giving you anxiety, I really, really do hope that this tips has helped. The last one that I'm going to throw in there is this.
And I'm being very, very careful because many times what I find is that because we want to avoid anxiety, instead of remembering who we are, changing our thoughts about ourselves, instead of bringing down the problem from being hyperinflated, one of the mistakes we make is we change our goals too prematurely. And it actually leads to underperforming. It leads to under having what you could do in 2 years. It ends up taking like 40 years, like the Israelites, right? The thing is sometimes there is a time that is appropriate for you to change your goals. It's okay to readjust your goals. If you've tried everything that I've talked about, you've changed your environment, you've talked to your coach, you've talked to your mentor, and it's still not working, sometimes you may just need to change your goal and just breathe a little bit. Give yourself some grace. At the end of the day, to be honest with you, none of this defines who you are. Again, I'm very, very careful about this because my goal is not to let you achieve more. First of all, is I want you to be well. So whatever you need to be well right now, if that means like changing, readjusting your goals, then maybe you need to do that. Maybe your goal was to pay off your debt in 2 years. And if that's causing you anxiety, maybe make it 3 years and just breathe a little bit. And in fact, what I've found is this: when I was doing my own paying off, decided to pay off my student debt, I could have said I'll do this in 2.5 years. I did not do that because I did not want to be anxious. So what I did instead was I said I would do it in 5 years, which is way, way but like what's it called, ahead of schedule compared to what many physicians do. But I said I would do this in 5 years. But because I now decreased my anxiety by choosing 5 years as opposed to choosing 2 years, it gave me the breathability to not be so anxious that I jeopardize myself. And what that led to was I was able to do it in 2.5 years. Right. So sometimes in order to go farther, faster, you may need to slow down a little bit so that you can be more well and then you can actually move faster. I've done this with my swimming. In fact, sometimes, like right now, some of you guys know that I'm taking swimming classes. One of the things that I've been doing is challenging myself with the swimming. And what I'm working on with my coaches right now is to slow down so I can go farther. Slow down so I can go farther. Slow down so I can go farther. So that's what I'm working on. I hope this has been helpful for you. Listen up. You are your life is about you. You are amazing. There's so much that you have to do in this world. Money and you living your wealthy life is part of the identity that we want you to walk around this life with. But it is so important that you relax. Don't be so anxious about the future. Bring yourself back. Follow those things that I've told you. I hope it helps you. And if you want my help, support, this is literally what we do in the Money School. We help people decrease their anxiety around their goals so that they can accomplish them faster, sooner, without hustle, without striving like crazy. If you want us to help, all you have to do is go to moneyfitmd.com/call, CALL. You can schedule a consultation call with me. It will ask you some questions that I want you to answer because it really helps us know and vet to see if the Money School is the right place for you. And if it is the right place for you, we'll let you know and schedule a call with us. But if it's not, we also may be able to provide some support and guide you in the right direction. My goal is to support women physicians. My goal is to help you become the wealthy version of yourself. My goal is to introduce you to the wealthy version of yourself that is living life on her terms, enjoying her relationships, building wealth, enjoying the freedom of time, and doing the amazing things she's here to do on this earth. I hope this episode it's been helpful for you. I love you. Thank you for being a part of my world. And please, 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 please share this. And I'm going to ask you for a favor. If you're listening on the podcast, can you please leave us a review? It literally takes you 30 seconds. And what it does do is it lets me know that you're listening. Let me know what you love about this podcast. And if you're watching on the YouTube, make sure that you subscribe as well and follow us so that you don't miss any other episodes that come in. I'm on a mission to disrupt the world of money for women physicians. I want us to be known as being good at money. I want us to walk into rooms and having confident conversations, being sure of ourselves so that we can do the great work we're here to do. And this is my own job. This is my own work. This is the mission that I have because I know that when you do well, it's a great thing for the world. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. I'll see you soon in the next episode. Goodbye.